it's me, Mike, with HPDS. This video will be a reading and a study of Leviticus chapter 18. That's Leviticus chapter 18. And before I get started, of course, I will go ahead and make this prayer as I always do. It is the Lord's Prayer out of the book of Matthew, chapter 6. And it reads, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. All right. So this one is going to be chapter 18, and as I normally do before these videos, I give a quick overview of what we've read so far. And if you remember, Leviticus is the third book of the Bible. It has mostly been regarding the laws of how to make the offerings and how to sanctify the tabernacle that was instructed to be made back in the book of Exodus, which is the second book of the Bible. Remember, there was such things as the meat offerings, the trespass or the sin offerings, the peace offerings, the trespass offerings, and so forth. That was the first 7 chapters. Chapters 8, 9, and 10 were about Aaron and his sons, how they had to be consecrated and so forth. And there was the story of Aaron's 2 sons, how they died. Nadab and Abihu back in, I believe that was that was Leviticus 10. And from there, they moved on to laws regarding cleanliness and how to be clean and so forth. And we also read some chapters about leprosy, if you recall, a few chapters back, as recently as chapter 15, I believe. The past couple of chapters, 16 and 17, were how it was really about the Lord making a government. If you remember those 2 videos, I made mention that the Lord was establishing his people. He was establishing, this whole thing has been their government. Remember, if you make a sin, which just like in modern day, if you make a crime, if you commit a crime, then you had to go make an offering of some sort to the Lord, whether it be a trespass offering or a sin offering. And then we learned in the last couple of chapters, 16, 7, or the last few chapters, 16 and 17, that they had to bring all the offerings to the tabernacle that was created. The Lord is physically there. He is in the holy seat. He's in the mercy seat, which is the Ark of the Covenant, who we know as the Ark of the Covenant. Remember, he came down as a pillar of smoke. He went in there, and there's a bunch of things these people have to do to be close to him. He is their Lord, and he appears as natural phenomenon to them. But he is establishing them as his people, and this is his government. And last chapter 17, that's when he made it clear that they had to bring the offerings to the tabernacle, along with a few other things. So he was telling them they could no longer make sacrifices out in the wild, out in the open field. They had to make them in this tabernacle that he has created for them. But moving on, what I will go ahead and do is we will go ahead and take a look at this outline that I have established here. Let's see. It is Leviticus 18. This one is called Unlawful Marriages and Unlawful Lusts. And we are going to go ahead and continue this concept of what like a government is really in control. What he is, he's a king, what we know as a king. He is the Lord. It's the same word. Lord is usually goes hand in hand with the word king. But it's a chapter of 30 verses. Verses 1 through 5, we're going to read about Israel is to keep God's ordinances. So remember, this is his government. These are his ordinances. These are his laws. Israel was to keep them. Verses 6 through 18, we're going to read about the sin of incest. So before I continue reading on, I do kind of want to make mention that this particular chapters, I would call, it's not vulgar, but it is about vulgar activity. So obviously the law is not vulgar, but clearly the sin of incest, it's a vulgar act. Well, we all know that word incest. It's a very taboo word. It's something that's people don't talk about it. It's made fun of, but the troubling act of it is usually just made fun of instead of how serious it really is. Less of the seriousness or the gravity of it all. But verses 19 through 23, immoral acts are forbidden. Just continuing on with that sin of incest, just immoral acts are forbidden. And verses 24 through 30, we're going to read that Israel is not to be defiled. Israel is not to be defiled. So again, this is going forward with the concept that he is making a government. These people are his government. They're to keep his laws. And these are some things that, of course, he had a few chapters back, he spoke about leprosy, which is kind of, if in my opinion, it's kind of odd unless you know what's going on in the Bible. It's kind of odd. He spoke about leprosy. Why didn't he speak about, say, what we know as cancer or what we know as any other disease? But he talked specifically about leprosy. And then right here, he's going to speak specifically about these immoral acts. So what I'll go ahead and do, as I normally do, is I will read the chapter and I'll read it straight through, and then I'll reread it line by line, and I'll further, with the help of the Holy Spirit, further explain what's going on so that we could better understand this. Obviously, this is a Bible study. So let me get into it right now. Leviticus chapter 18. Okay, and I will read it. And it reads, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments, and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father, or the nakedness of thy mother, shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife, daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister. Thou shalt not uncover their nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sisters, she is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife, she is thine aunt. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law, she is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife, it is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, beside the other in her lifetime. Also thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs which are committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. Okay, so that was Leviticus chapter 18 in its entirety. Yeah, so this one, like I said, it's kind of it's a very like I said, vulgar. What the acts that it's talking about are vulgar. However, this is not the first time we've come across vulgar acts like this in the Bible. Obviously, um, I'll obviously, as soon as I get in, I'll make mention of, there was Ham and Noah, for example. He saw his father's nakedness. There was Leah and her sister, that were married to I'm not Jake. His name is anyway. He was one of Abraham's sons. Leah and Rebecca were the two sisters that was put upon him by his uncle, and I already forget his name as well. But his uncle from when he went to go find his wife when he fled Esau, and then he went out there and he worked for his uncle and worked for what I think it was something like 20 years or something, and he made him marry the two sisters, of course. Then also Lot and his daughter, and so forth. So these things were made. We've read about these things. Obviously, we know these people were doing them, but I think the real issue that I take is that they're still occurring today, of course. So let me just go ahead and put this back into perspective. The sin of incest and immoral acts forbidden. Obviously, that's what we're reading about. And we learned at the end that these people were doing these things, and now they're being told, you are not allowed to do these things. So that's really what I kind of am trying to put into focus here. So let me go ahead, and what I'll do is I will read this chapter, and of course I will let's see. I'll read it line by line this time, and we'll see what the Holy Spirit brings and how He explains it. So of course the Lord spake unto Moses, and this is what He said. He's saying, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God." Okay, so we've read that before. That's pretty much His a standard opening in a lot of these laws that we've come across is just pretty standard. He says, "After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do." So he's saying that where you were in Egypt, those people they acted a certain way after their doings of the land of Egypt. That's what he's saying. Wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. So all the things that they were doing, you are not to do. And then he goes on, "And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances." So he's saying also they're going to the land of Canaan, which we know as modern day Israel. That's where he was taking them. Remember, they were in the wilderness between Egypt and modern day Israel, what he was calling the land of the Canaan. He's saying Egypt, where you don't do their things, and Canaan, don't do what they're doing either. Don't walk in their laws, don't follow their laws. You just don't do it. So again, he's establishing his government. They had rules, they had laws. I'm sure Egypt had laws. I'm sure Canaan had laws. Who knows what their laws technically would have been? And they had customs, things that they did. Everybody thought was normal at the time, or even if they didn't think they were normal, they were doing it. Even in today's modern world, people know that these things aren't normal. Of course, these things that I'm going to be reading about again, these things aren't normal. We know that. Yet they happen all the time, even then as they do now. And so, they're happening. Not that there's necessarily laws or rules or even customs surrounding it. It just happens because that's, the evil that is in men's hearts, people's hearts. But he's continuing forth, ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances. Obviously, he is there. Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. So again, he's establishing, I am your Lord. I am your king. I am your God. I am your ruler. You follow my laws. And he goes on to say, ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. And this is what I've said in previous videos, is that he said, if you do what he says, good things will happen. And if you don't do what he says, bad things will happen. You'll be punished. And of course, I keep making mention that we will read about that later on. I think it's pretty much in the last couple. I think it is the last chapter, Leviticus 26. We're going to read about how there are rewards for obedience, and there's going to be punishment for disobedience. But he's saying right here that if you keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. So of course, we all know that life is a gift. Life is better than death. It's better to live than to die, and so forth. So he's saying, if you do what I say, you're going to live. And so now he's moving on 6 through, when was it? Let's see, I already lost it. Verses 6 through 18, the sin of incest. So this is where we're reading all these different types of incest. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. So he's saying, don't go to any family to uncover their nakedness, which, just in that term alone, just to see them naked is bad. So obviously we're just going to keep it at that. But obviously, what beyond that is obviously if just seeing them naked, then anything beyond that is also not to be done, clearly. And so he's saying, none of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Now, this is kind of interesting. You got to understand that I forget already where in Genesis it was. It was early in Genesis. Let me see. Genesis, cleave to wife. It's a Genesis 2 verse 24 is what I'm seeing. And it reads, and I'm just going to read it off screen. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So that was way back in Genesis 2. That was at the beginning of the Bible. It made mention that a man and his wife are one flesh. So a man and his wife are one person. As far as the Lord is concerned, you're one person. So here it's saying, it's intermingling these two, the nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother. And then it just kind of fills it out with, she is thy mother. Thou shalt not. To say that she is thy mother is pretty much the same as to say he is thy father. If you got a married couple, he and she, they're one person to the Lord. So that's why it's kind of, you got to see this in the wording, because this is going to be common. Okay, so married people, married person is one person. A married man and his wife are one person. Excuse me. The nakedness of that. So, but either way, beyond that, obviously, your father and your mother, you should not be seen naked. Do not uncover their nakedness. Don't have, and even just saying it, and it's written other places in the Bible that just mentioning what these wicked people do behind closed doors, just talking about it is a shame. It's shameful. So even just trying to get this out that obviously just to see the nakedness, but to have sex with your father or your mother, and that in itself obviously is not supposed to. It's not supposed to be done. It's still done in today's modern world. So if you're watching this video and you don't know that people do these things even today, that this is some kind of like uncommon thing, that only these old ancient people did this. They were, back, it happens constantly in today's world. They make jokes about it on very popular television shows. I mean, primetime shows, you'll see jokes about incest, sex with your brother, sex with your sister, sex with your mom, your whatever, so forth, aunts, uncles. It's a joke to a lot of people on even prime time, and behind closed doors. It is very common, especially in the satanic community. This is I mean, there's a popular rapper. I remember a song that one of the lyrics says that he wants to have sex with every woman in the world. And he doesn't say sex. I want to every girl in the world. I want to every girl in the world. And I mean, if you think about that, clearly that man has a mother too. And if, just going, but it's just something that it happens. A lot of people, unfortunately, sinful people, this is very prevalent. If you think it isn't and you're watching this, I just want to make mention that it is. It's very common. You can go look on porn, and porn will have categories for this stuff. So keep that in mind. It wasn't just those people back then. It happened. It's clearly happened all throughout history. I mean, if you think about Adam and Eve, they themselves were sinful, cast out of heaven, and then the first thing that happened was one of their sons kills their other sons and runs off with the sister, and then that was his wife, his sister. He just ran off, so he kills his brother, takes his sister, and runs off. And clearly, Adam. And then we also have obviously Noah and them too. Keep that in mind. Noah had his 3 sons, and they would have had their respective wives, and they would have had their respective children, and those children's only options would have been cousins, if you think about it. So cousins would have been part of this. Even in modern day, you wouldn't really want to. Cousins, or actually more than that, cousins, or this stuff, brother and sister. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. And before I kind of get into this one, that statement, let me go back to real quick. I forgot to mention Lot and his sister and his daughters. If you remember Lot and his daughters, and we're going back to when is this? Genesis. What chapter is it? Genesis 18 and 19. And that's where, let's see. Yeah, Genesis 19 verses 30 through 38. Let me see. Genesis 19. And let me read it. I'll just read it from here. Genesis 19. Again, I'm just reading it from off screen, off this camera. Genesis 19. Genesis 19, and let me read this out. And it goes from 30 to 38, but I'll just read this. Let's see. Verses 31. And Well, yeah, let's just read it. And the Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come unto us after the manner of all the earth. So she was even saying, the manner of all the earth. This is the manner of all the earth. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it, and that's just common. That's how they talk about it. Everybody's doing it. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down or when she arose. So Lot, remember, lived in Sodom and Gomorrah. He was living there in Sodom. And when Sodom and Gomorrah were being destroyed, obviously he fled, and that's what happened to him and his daughter. Both of his daughters, he got them both pregnant. They both got him drunk. They both got pregnant by him because they were afraid that all the world was being destroyed and that they wouldn't have any children. That's what they did. And I didn't even read about, let's see, back in Genesis, I want to say it was something like Genesis 8 is when we read about Ham going in and uncovering his father's nakedness. Remember that one? Let's see. No, I think it had to be chapter 9 or 10. I think it was chapter 10, actually. No, it had to be chapter 9. No. Yeah, it is. And Noah woke from his wine. This is chapter 9, Genesis 9, verse 24. And Noah woke from his wine and knew that what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan. Oh, did I say Ham? I meant Canaan. Obviously, no, he did say. Servant Canaan. Here is Canaan was the son of Ham. So, let me see. I'm already getting this wrong then. Let's see. Yeah, no, it was. Verse 22 said it was Ham. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and his 2 brethren without. And so that's when he goes in there and Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. So Ham, who was the father of Canaan, and remember now, this was many hundreds of years later, because remember this was many hundreds of years later. I think I remember calculating it at one point, and it's something like, I think it was something like 600 years based off of the text, something like that, based off of the ages. I don't really remember, but it was several hundred years later, and they're going into the land of Canaan, which was the cursed one, remember? And of course, what is he talking about? Like, when you go into Canaan, you better be careful. Don't be doing all this incest. And so Ham, who saw Noah, his own father, if you watch that video, I have that video. It should be obviously Genesis. I think I just said it was Genesis 9. If you go back to that Genesis 9 video, I believe that's when I did make mention that obviously it was some sort of perversion, and his perversion was he just went in and probably was somewhere he didn't want, and he saw his dad naked. He may not have been that he necessarily did any kinds of sexual acts with his father. Obviously, he just went and he told his brothers, I saw my dad naked, and they knew that, obviously these people would have been as close to perfect as you can have gotten, because that's what God was saying. These people were holy, and just to see his father naked, because he was somewhere that he shouldn't have been. He wasn't supposed to be in that tent because it was for the holy, it was for his father. Even though Noah was in there drunk, that was on Noah being in there drunk. Ham probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. And then he just saw his father naked. Not that he necessarily did anything sexual to him. Just seeing it has perverted the lines so many hundreds years later, obviously, that this is what these people are doing now. So back then, and that's why it's saying you're not even just supposed to uncover their nakedness. Don't uncover their nakedness like Ham did. That's what Ham did. And that's still just part of the nakedness of thy father's wife. But I think yeah, getting into this topic already. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness shall thou not uncover. So again, that was Cain right there. That was Cain doing that. As soon as he killed Abel, ran off with his sister. So obviously, these are perverted acts. They happened then. They still happen today in today's world. It's horrible. This is why sin is horrible. God is telling you, look, it's sinful, it's shameful, everybody knows it's wrong, but so many people are doing it. It's so prevalent. This is what these people do. So don't do like these people. That's why he's told them, Israel, Canaan, the people of Egypt, the people of Canaan, don't do like what they do. I'm already lost where I'm at because it's pretty much all the same stuff. It's talking about nakedness of thy father's wife. So your sister right here, your brother, obviously, your sister or your brother. I know it's talking a lot kind of like to a male point of view, but it's both to men and women. And remember, if you're with somebody, if you so much have sex with someone, that's basically like you're married to them in God's world, in God's eyes. You're married to this person and you're one flesh. And so that's why it's kind of talking to like in a male perspective. But it's both, it goes both ways, females too. The nakedness of thy son's daughter. So even worse, thy son's daughter, that's your grandchildren, or thy daughter's daughter. So don't have sex with your kids. Don't have sex with your sisters, your brothers, your siblings, your grandchildren. That it even has to tell you don't have sex with your grandchildren. You would think it's obvious, but not. This is a state of humanity, not just then, but even now. This is the state. This is what it means to be human. People are out there doing disgusting things because they like doing disgusting things. And it's disgusting. And I know because it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Let's see, okay, so your daughter, your son's daughter, your daughter's daughter, your grandchild, the nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter. What's that? Your father's wife's daughter. So that's your begotten of thy father, your half sister. She is thy sister. So that's what he's saying. Your wife, so your sister, even your half sister, your stepsister would be the other one, and that's what's stepsister, your stepbrother. There's entire jokes about that people are out there. It's very common. It's in popular entertainment. It's out there. Let's see. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister. She is thy father's near kinswoman. So your father's sister, your brother's sister, your mother's sister, your father's brother, your sister's brother, your mother's brother. I can't even say these. Your aunt, your uncle is what it's saying. That's your aunt or your uncle. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister. Same thing. For she is thy mother's near kinswoman. That's your aunt or your uncle. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thine aunt. So there it is, the word aunt right there. Same thing. Your parents, don't be having sex with their siblings, which are your aunt and your uncles. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. That you would be having sex with your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law, which is your son's wife, your daughter's husband. The same concept. Why, that's your children that you're outright disrespecting. But of course, like I said, you can go look in porn. These are entire categories. These people are running around. This is the thing. There's a lot of this, among other things, mind you, because of course I'm going to keep reading with a few more things. Not even just, ancestral. It's also, there's animals as well. You can find that on the internet too. That's out there. Let's see. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. So also your sister-in-law, your brother-in-law. That's another thing. People are people do that. People have done. People will do that. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shalt thou take her son's daughter. Take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswomen. So, and you know what? There was an entire movie. What was this movie called? And it had a very, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll say this name of this movie and I'll kind of give a quick overview. It was with a famous, she's on that show Friends a long time ago, back in the 90s. I forget her name. Let's see. And let me see if I can remember this movie. Give me some time. Uh-oh. What is her name? Her name was Jennifer Aniston. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm looking up her movies because I can't remember the name of this movie off the top of my head. But I'm sure I can. Oh, even there's a movie just recently that she came out and called We're the Millers, in which they pretended to be a family to commit some sort of a crime. And at some point, they have an entire scene in that movie where the brother and the mother, the sister and the mother are trying to teach the brother how to have sex or get, how to kiss or something. And they start making jokes that they're not related in the movie per se, but of course the joke is that they're a family that's having this kind of conversation. Even that was just not even a decade ago, that movie. I'm trying to remember the name of this movie. It was called, oh man, I can't seem to find it. Maybe it wasn't her, but I'm pretty sure it was her in this movie. And it was something about, and what it was anyway, the whole point of this movie that I'm talking about it, maybe it was Rumor Has It. It could be this movie called Rumor Has It. Yeah, it was called Rumor Has It, the year 2005. Yeah. So she's a woman who learned her family was the inspiration for a book and a movie, and that she just might be the offspring of no, maybe that wasn't it. Maybe it wasn't Rumor Has It. I don't think it was Rumor Has It. That must not have been it. I'm completely wrong. No, it had to be. It was Kevin Costner was in that movie. And it was this man who had basically dated the grandmother and then the mother and then I think the granddaughter. He dated all three of them or something along those lines in their lifetime. They didn't really know or something throughout history. Is the one woman dated, then the other woman, and they were that's what they were. It was mother, daughter, and granddaughter. And that's exactly what this is saying right here. Don't have sex with a woman and her daughter, or a woman and her granddaughter. Or yeah, don't have sex with a woman and their kids and their grandkids all together. And that's kind of what this whole movie was about a man that did this. And it was a romance comedy. It was one of those rom-coms they call it. It was a romance. It was a common, it was a romance comedy. It was funny. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister, to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime. And so now we read about this back in Genesis. I forget what his name was and where he came from, but there was a man that his brother dies and he left a wife and they didn't have any kids. So he was obligated to marry this woman and to give her children, but instead he was spilling his seed on the ground, so he wasn't giving her a child on purpose, which was, all about it was a legal issue at the time, really. But nonetheless, he did that. He took, well, she did that like in reverse. She had a husband, and then she had her husband's brother, but it wasn't in his lifetime. And so that's not, you know what I mean? That was more of a legal issue. But we also came across this with, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, it was when Jacob ran away. Let's see. Yeah, when Jacob was running away, right, from Esau, he went to Laban. That was his name, Laban. This would have been yeah, this would have been like this would have been back in Genesis like 29, something along that. But anyway, he went to Laban, and Laban, he loved Rachel. Remember, hold on, I'm trying to get rid of this. Remember, he loved Rachel, but he went to work for Laban, and Laban said, if you work, I think it was 7 years, if you work this many years for me, I'll give you Rebecca to be a wife. And then after that time flew by, it was time for, am I saying Rebecca? I meant Rachel. I've been saying Rebecca, but I mean Rachel. It was Leah and Rachel. Rachel was the sister. He loved Rachel. Um, And so he loved Rachel. He worked the 7 years, and then Laban tricked him and gave him her sister, the older sister, which was Leah. So this was something that Laban pushed onto him to, gave him a sister, the wife, to vex her. So remember, there was a whole thing where Rachel and Leah kind of always, there was a story about their children's mandrakes. Remember that one? The children, she had one son, and she said, give me some of your son's mandrakes and I'll let you have Jacob tonight. And remember, that was a whole deal. So they were vexed with each other because they were married to one man. Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. So remember, when are women put apart for their uncleanness? Not only are they put apart for their uncleanness during their monthly, what we know as the monthly period, they're also put away for this. We learned back in chapter, when did we learn it? Leviticus chapter, had to be 13, maybe? Leviticus 13, I didn't write it in my... It had to be 12. Yep, chapter 12, Leviticus chapter 12. We learned that not only is it during their monthly, it's after they have a child. Remember, there's a certain period, and I already forget those periods, but certain time frame for if she had a boy, or a certain time frame if she had a girl. But either way, you shouldn't be having sex with the woman when she's on her period, or when she was after having birth, after having given birth. And then I think that's what, basically, this is moving on to immoral acts forbidden. So 6 through 18, oh, thankfully we got out of the incest. Now we're moving on to just other immoral acts. So having sex with a woman during her monthly or after she's had a baby, that's immoral. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. So this is adultery. Don't go to your, somebody that and have sex with the wife. That's cheating. We know that as that's concerned. We call that cheating. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. So they're saying, don't burn your children for Molech. So don't go to God and say, here, I have a child, I'm going to sacrifice it for you. So remember, now we've been reading that how to make these offerings from chapters 1 through 7 of Leviticus. Remember, it was an animal. It has to be an animal. It has to be a goat. It has to be one of the livestock creatures. It is not supposed to be your child. And remember, that's the story of that was the story of Abraham. When Abraham was told to go sacrifice Isaac. So he goes up, and that's when he goes up the mountain. Remember, he's going to go sacrifice his son. God told him to. And then when he gets up there and God realizes, oh, wow, he's really going to do it. If he's going to do what I tell him to do, even if it means sacrificing his son. And then he stops him and he says, don't do it. And he gives him the ram that was caught up in the thistles, remember? And so then, remember, and as they were going up the mountain, Abraham told his son something along the lines of, don't worry, God, the Lord will provide the sacrifice. Because remember, there he was, Isaac was going up, and he was saying, Father, where's the sacrifice? Where's the bull, or where's the ram? And that's when Abraham's telling him, don't worry, God's gonna provide. And when he gets up there, he's about to kill his son, and instead God comes out and tells him, don't do it. And that's what this is right here. Don't do it. You've already been told a while back, Abraham, don't sacrifice your children. And he calls it Moloch. And I don't really know who Moloch is, which, thankfully, I'll take a real quick, let me see, who is Moloch? And I'll just do a quick, it's really just they call him the biblical name of a Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice through fire or war. Wow, through fire or war. That's a horrible thing right there. Through fire or war. And I'm saying that because that's more prevalent today. Most people aren't running around, thankfully, getting their children and outright killing their children and burning them in fire as a sacrifice to Moloch. However, a lot of people are getting their children killed through war. And especially in the false Christians and the false churches out there that love to praise the United States. For example, in the United States, we got a lot of people think that the right, the religion, the political right, the Republican, the GOP, they say that those people are religious, or they're the Christian base of, it's a political thing. Those mostly are false Christians. That's because that's what they're doing is they're having their seeds passed through the fire to Moloch. They're having their children sacrificed to Moloch, which in this day and age would be sacrificing them for the United States government. For as much as anybody might love the government, you have to realize that all governments are going to go to war with Jesus Christ, and all of them are going to go to war with Jesus Christ. All the kings of the world are going to go to war with Jesus Christ, and it is not going to be pretty, because they're going to lose, and it's going to be hilarious. But nonetheless, a lot of these people believe that Christians are Republican supporters because the Republicans try to be Christian. And so this idea of what it means to be Christian is they love, they salute their government. They believe in a lot of these. And it's sad because I've come across preachers that think that it's okay. They call themselves priests, and they think that it's okay to let their children join the military, that it's a good thing to join the military. That's exactly why I just read this. That was on Wikipedia that I read that off, and I read that off screen, so you go take a look at it if you want, but it's on the Moloch, which is Moloc. I spelled it Molech, and they have it Molloch. Anyway, that's the direct quote says is the biblical name of a Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice through fire or war. Right there, through fire or war. So if you send your child off to war for the United States government and you salute them when they come home dead in their little casket, you feel so proud and sad. You just let your child pass through the fire for Moloch, not for Jesus Christ. Because remember, Anybody who's United States citizens, this is one nation under God. These are God-given rights. We don't need somebody to die for my rights. You don't need nobody needs to die for my rights. The Lord Jesus Christ already did that. Okay? So, if you're sending your child off to war for the government, and not just here in America, anywhere, Christians should not be so proud of their government to sign your child up to go to war for their government. The government is not there for them to send you to war. The government is there to serve the Lord and do his will. Remember that. So I'm sorry. That's another one because it's sad, really. I've met priests and preachers that think that it is okay that they're very proud of they're not only lots of times not only their service but their children's service. They're so proud of their children in the military. Send them off to West Point. They let them become officers in the United States government in the military to go supposedly fight for our freedoms. But that's not what they're doing. They're sacrificing their child through war to Moloch. So it's a horrible thing. And immoral, apparently. So don't be doing that. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. This is another hot button topic. Of course, this is something that if Google knew I was saying it, they might flag this whole video. Excuse me. Or, they yell at you on Twitter or Facebook or the internet, or, it's homosexuality, and more than homosexuality. This also includes what people are trying to push now. It's very modern in today's world. Transsexual. They just shorten it down to trans. Well, they're transgender. They call it transgender now. When I was younger, they simply called it transsexual. And that's all part of the same thing, where a man is trying to be a woman and vice versa and it's all for the basis of sex. So you're not supposed to be having sex with men. Should not have sex with men. Women should not have sex with women. It is an abomination. That's the word. Homosexuality is a sin. It's abomination. And right here, it's just outright immoral. And I would agree with that because I've met homosexuals and I know what it's about. I know exactly what homosexuality is about, and it's about sex. It's about perversion. You're perverting. That's all it is. And you can argue it as much as you want, but it's just perverted. You're being perverted, and you wanna what's the word? Justify your perversion. So anyway, let's see. And then again, and once again, I'll just go right back to it right here. This is stuff you can find in this is pornography. You can find this stuff on the internet. You can go find people. You can find this is called snuff films. People killing each other. Even during sex, killing sex and stuff. And then also we have a lot of, unfortunately, this happens a lot. This, what I was reading, murders and everything, that all happens a lot in today's world. We hear about it, a lot of it on television and through the news, but really they filter out a lot of it. Most of the stuff, when it happens, you never know about it because the cops deal with it, and perpetrators often go to jail, and then people in jail have they keep their mouth shut. So that's kind of the common, you don't snitch. Snitches get stitches, they say. So, and even myself, one time when I was younger, about maybe a decade ago, I landed myself in, I've landed myself in jail too as a person, just to let everybody know, that's out there. I don't, but anyway, while I was in there, I met a guy, and I remember spending a few days. I was only in there a few days with this guy, maybe 2-3 days. And, I remember that he had the same name as me, the same first name. And I remember he said he was a truck driver and that he was in there for DUI, because that's what I was in there at the time. I was drinking a lot when I was younger. Anyway, and so that's what he said he was there for. But then when I got out of jail, I remember actually looking his name up to see what he got arrested for. And I do remember seeing that he had been arrested for uh, some sort of unlawful contact with the child, some sort of sexual contact with the child. So he was having sex with a minor, or he abused. I will never know, but I do remember, and that's why I don't remember his name or anything. This was like a decade ago. It's just something that I remember happening. He told me he was in there for a DUI, and I believed him. And then for some reason, I remember, because I remember making friends with him. I remember thinking he was funny. I and for some reason I had this concept that maybe I'll look this guy up. When he gets out, we'll go hang out. We'll have a beer together or something. And then I looked him up and found out that he was not in there for a DUI. He was in there for some sort of perversion with a child, whatever that meant. It was some sort of unlawful sexual contact with a child, something like that. So I don't know what that means. Didn't have the records in it, but it just goes to show that people in jail will say whatever they want. So you don't hear a lot about these things, even though every now and then you'll read or hear about this in the papers, in the newspapers. Most of it is all behind closed doors. Even after they get caught and they're in jail, it's still hush hush. Because obviously it's shameful. Like I said, I'm over here talking about it, and just talking about it, I'm ashamed for being able to tell you how much of this stuff I know about, just because I've seen it. Like I said, pornography is prevalent. It's easy to access, and I've had my problems with it in the past too. Just like, this world is so full of things. Even keep in mind, even if I were to say, for example, an officer, police officers have to see it. They look at it after, when they come across it, when they're prosecuting, and so they have to suffer through it too. And it's there. You'll see it. And it's shameful. Just knowing that we know about it is shameful. Just like this, neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any women stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Sex with an animal. It's called bestiality. Once again, people think, oh, it's a joke, but it's prevalent enough that there are entire porn sites set up to it, and not just like one or two or three or four. That one porn site, that once. No, it's all over the internet. You can find it. Obviously, if you find it on the wild out on the internet, you better be careful with what device you're looking at it through, because obviously it's very dangerous stuff. The people that are into this kind of things, that are willing to record it or to show it off, they're not safe people. I'll tell you that right now. So, but I will tell you that it's out there if you don't know so already. And I'm not saying to go look for it, but it is out there. If you don't know already, is what I'm trying to say. And like I said, shameful to even know that. It's just shameful. Like I said, if you're a young person and you don't know that, it's shameful. Well, how do you know that? Well, I've seen it. It's there. I know what I'm talking about. It's out there. Let's see. Defile not your. Okay, so moving on. Finally, 24 through 30. Israel is not to be defiled. So keep that in mind. All this stuff so far has been defiled, man. It's gross. That's what I was saying. It's gross. It's disgusting. It's immoral. It's bad. It's sinful. It's gross. It's disgusting. I can't even stop saying it. I'm like spitting. Like, it's gross. And he's telling them, defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. So God is saying, just like I said, all of the nations, for in all these nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. They've all done this. Egypt has done it. It was all in Egypt. It's all in Canaan. And I'll tell you today, it's all in America. It's all in England. It's all in Russia. It's all in China. It's all in Africa. It's all in South America. It's everywhere. It's all over in the world. It's still there. I mean, there are I think the entire presidential election for currently it's Mr. Trump, but his original back in 2016, there was a whole thing with his opposing candidate, which was Miss Hillary Clinton. And there's so many vile things about her out there, and I'm not gonna say it obviously because, um, but in particular, there was a whole thing that people called it, and it was a joke called Pizzagate, and it had some famous names, and that's why it's still suppressed. And people call, and of course, if you see this and you're watching this, you'll take that. Some people will take that instantly. I'm discredited because that was fake. That was bogus. None of that was true. Damn it! They'll tell you none of that was true. It was a lie. But ultimately, whether it is or not, keep in mind it goes in complete hand in hand with what I'm talking, what the Bible is talking, not what I'm talking about. What the Bible is talking about right here. Um, anyway, this Pizzagate was probably the biggest scandal that kept Hillary back from not winning the presidency. It was Pizzagate, and Pizzagate was all about the so-called conspiracy that people were using children as prostitutes, and they were using code words like hot dog and pizza and so forth, spaghetti. So I don't, they were using code words and restaurants to have, do have sex with children, pedophile. And they talked about that. Of course, the conspiracy went further and deeper into the concept that afterwards, a lot of these children were mostly kidnapped from around the world, around the country, or from around the world. They were abused, molested, trafficked is the word. They were trafficked around the world, around the country, around the world, for sex as sex slaves. And then afterwards, that the evidence was often the evidence. By the evidence, I mean the victims. The victims were often murdered, and then to dispose of the bodies, they were eaten. A lot of them. And that, I obviously, people will say, oh, discredited, that's not what it was, blah blah blah. Some people don't even know about this, but it was very popular for a while. And of course, this is why a lot of people say Donald Trump is, kind of out there and extravagant conspiracy theories, so forth, etc., etc. I won't get into it. That it can't be real because it's so wild and outrageous of a claim that there's no way it's possible. It's just impossible. No way. But the Bible was saying that these things were happening. I mean, we even will read about, obviously, we're just reading about Moloch right there. Moloch was the child sacrificer, through fire or through war. So obviously, these people were killing, they're doing all kinds of dirty things. And yes, we do come across cannibalism quite a bit. And we'll come across some cannibalism in the Bible because that is it. Like I said, that's exactly what happens throughout history. People are violent, often for the sake of sex, which is lust, and then afterwards they kill victims. So people usually are making victims. They're being aggressive in order to have sex, and after that they are being aggressive and killing people to get rid of evidence so that other people won't know. So they do it so that other people won't know, which is, of course, very strange. Obviously, they don't want this is what it means to live in the dark. They don't want their actions to be known. They're willing to kill to keep it quiet. And I'm kind of not sure where I was going with that and how I got there from that particular verse. Oh yeah, but no, I'm saying that that's what happens, and that's happening now. It was happening in the highest levels of government. It may still be because we do have this whole thing with the current presidential election, obviously. So that means, from the looks of it, clearly Donald Trump's, how do I say this? His White House isn't the most secure, unfortunately, because it appears that a lot of people are still dealing with this whole, these famous rich people like to do very immoral, disgusting things behind closed doors. And then afterwards, they like to kill people to keep secrets. That's just out there. I mean, again, as I'm not giving any specific incidences because I wouldn't really know any specifics, but it's pretty obvious, and it should be obvious because it's happened all throughout history, and so obviously it's going to happen with sinful people that do not have the Lord. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. So now he's saying 24 through 30, they're not to be, Israel not to be defiled, right? So they don't do none of this. So all the people in the world, they're all doing this stuff, and the land is defiled. That's what he's saying, more than that. So, okay, so let's dissect this a little bit more. Don't do these, for in all these nations are defiled, which I cast before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomit out her inhabitants. So he's saying that when people do this kind of stuff, the land itself is defiled, right? The earth itself, wherever these people are doing it. So if you're doing it in your home, then that land is defiled, and therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it. So God is saying, I go and I visit the iniquity upon it, meaning that he goes and he punishes it. I visit, there they are doing it. And he's a cloud of smoke right now. He's the earthquakes. They saw him up in heaven through like a crystal ceiling, a crystal floor to the God. Remember, they know they know he's there. They see him, but they don't see him as a human. They see him as natural phenomenon. Remember, that's what he's taking ownership. Remember the last couple of chapters when he was taking ownership for the blood, like saying that blood belongs to me, and you got to pay me for this blood. I give you that right to kill them. And same thing right here. He's saying, like, I go in and I visit the iniquity, and the land itself vomits out her inhabitants. And so that's why you're going into Canaan, because these people in Canaan have been doing that, and the land itself is going to vomit them out. And so you're going to go in and you're going to take over real easily. And that's what he's already setting up that stage for these people. Then he tells them, obviously, ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger so nobody, not your people, not anybody that's visiting you should do any of these things. For all these abominations have the man of the land done, which was before you, and the land is defiled. So it's already defiled. And if you keep doing it, that the land spew you not also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. So he's getting into that punishment. So remember at the beginning of the chapter, he says, if you, let's see, right here, verse 4, keep mine ordinances to walk therein. No, right here, which if a man do, he shall live in them. That's verse 5. You know, right here, he's going to tell you, the land will spew you out if you do defile it. It's gonna spill you out. You're gonna be punished. So if you do what I'm telling you, then you're gonna live. If you don't do, you're gonna get spewed out. The land itself is gonna spew you out. And remember, they know the Lord as natural phenomenon. They know that he committed earthquakes already. They know that he was doing fire. He rained fire from the sky. That the land would spit them out. Remember. Let's see. We're closing it out. So I'm gonna close this out. This is a long video because it was incredulous. I'm incredulous after all of this stuff. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. And that's very important. Why we need to know about Jesus, because like I said, I know that these things happen because I've seen it. I've seen foul, disgusting, nasty things. It's disgusting. I know what people have done to each other out there, and it's horrible, and it's very sad. But we do learn and we do read from Jesus we learned that he said that if you so much as hate your brother, you've committed murder. He said, if you so much look at a young woman with lust in your eyes, you have caused her to commit. You have committed adultery with her in your heart. So just to think about something is to do it, and so that's why like according to that, just to think about any of these things that I've just talked about, just to think about any of these nasty things, which is already too late because I just talked about it, so it's already too late. Then they should be cut off from among their people. So it's obvious that I should be cut off from my people if I was in Israel by now. If this was still Israel and I've done everything and seen what I've seen, and then keep that in mind, not just me, because I'm not trying to say I'm a super horrible person here. To the contrary, most people a lot of people have said that I'm actually not. I'm less. But anyway, that's other people. Keep in mind officers, people that are helping, people that are in the law. They've seen a lot of these things, and keep in mind that they've helped and they've gotten people that were needed to be in jail put away and put in bars and everything, but they themselves have seen evidence, and not just them, judges as well, lawyers, all kinds of people that would be in the a bunch of juries, people, just random people in juries have had to see horrible, disgusting evidence that of people doing this that committed crimes like this in today's modern world, obviously. And all those people, who knows what their thoughts were, And those thoughts, if you just think about doing it, even if you just, for the sake of it in your mind, just slipped up and thought about doing any of these nasty things that I read about, then it's like you've done them in your heart. That's what God said. That's what Jesus said. You've already done it in your heart. If you think about doing it, you've already done it. If you thought about it, then you've done it. And you should be cut off from among your people. And so we're lucky that we have Jesus Christ to kind of get rid of all of that, because Israel, like I have said in the past few videos, the Lord was not playing around. These people were not, it was not a joke. This was serious. And the Lord is explaining why, if you don't take this serious, look at the disgusting things remember, Ham saw Noah naked. That was it. He didn't necessarily have sex with him. He didn't abuse him and molest him. He just saw him naked. And now, hundreds of years after that, look at how defiled these people are. The land of Canaan. That's what God is saying. Look, these people do all of this stuff. They have sex with their kids. They have sex with their grandkids. They have sex with their siblings. They have sex with their aunts. They have sex with animals. They burn children to God. They kill children. Look at these things. And that's all just, because a few hundred years ago, Ham saw his father naked, and people think that was an accident, or that what I explained, the way it seemed like, as far as the Holy Spirit explained it to me, is Noah was pretty much as straight an arrow as you come across. He was very serious business. He was real, what we might call, I guess, I don't know what we would call it in today's world, religious or strict, maybe. I don't really know. But he was all, and so just to see him, Ham shouldn't have been somewhere. There he goes. And I said that when he saw him naked, even if it was an accident, it was something that in the back of Ham's, because he would have been so closer to perfect than we are today, that he would have been a little bit smarter than us. He would have known that he should not go in there because, I could see something I'm not supposed to see, which already was just the thought of perversion entering his head. It was just the thought of perversion entering his head. Back then, several hundred years later, they're doing it. It's pretty bad. So, of course, the last sentence, the last verse, therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. So, yeah, that's what he's saying. Don't do any of these things. You're going to do my ordinance, my law. because you're not going to commit these other disgusting acts. And he's setting up his government. So that's why it's a government, because people were doing disgusting things. And in today's world, a lot of people go to jail for doing what these people are doing, what these people did. So of course we know why it's obvious that God was setting up a government to protect people, especially his children, from these kinds of things, because we do it today. This is no different. This is government. We have police. We have all kinds of laws that are set up to prevent people from, doing immoral acts, especially. That is considered a crime. You will go to jail if you are a man and you have a child and you have sex with your child. You're gonna go to jail. It's just gonna happen. I mean, if you get caught, they're gonna put you in jail. So if we do it today, it should be obvious where we got it from. God himself started this practice a long time ago. He set up the law. So so it's very interesting in today's world. So that a lot of people don't think some of this is bad. Some people, you can find it on the internet. People joke about it, even in popular, like I said, famous people even do it, talk about it. So anyway, this was a disturbing chapter for me. Just now that I'm thinking about it, it was really out there. It was way longer than I think. This is the longest video I think I've already spoken about now. I've ever done now, and it was disgusting and horrible and shameful to even discuss it, to even make mention of it, because it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it now, and I'll do it the same way I always do. If you like this video, if you like what I'm doing, like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's all for YouTube's benefit. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I pray that we all bless Jesus Christ, and may Jesus Christ bless all of us. Amen.